Well, a good day to you all. Here we go with the next video of the truth behind the smiles, the GKR edition. Look, just before I start, what I want to say is that I am going to be calling names out, yes, but the one thing that I will be doing with these names is there will just be a representation of GKR. I do know a lot of things about people's personal lives, which are things that I will not be mentioning. But while they are representing GKR, then yes, I'll be mentioning the things they did while they were representing GKR, if you like. So, like I said last night with Mr. Hughes and the Japan thing, none of that was personal. I do know things about his personal life that I won't share because it's personal. But this is just to show you what happens with GKR. So, just while we're on Japan, what happened? The reason that we got reprimanded, we got back, was because Nick Jones, his partner at the time, Sarah, she was talking to the wives back in the UK and saying that we're all sleeping around with hookers and things like that, and we weren't, apart from Carl, of course. But yeah, so I'd get phone calls. I think I used to get my phone call was 3 p.m. our time, but it was like 10 p.m. Japan time. It was at night anyway. So yeah, the person I was with at the time, she was telling me that this Sarah had said that we're doing this, and I'm like, no, we're not. So I would get verbals down the phone, and I'm like, across the other side of the planet, man. What can I do? So the only thing I did do was I actually went into Nick Jones's room that night, and actually had a kick off with him. And I just said, look, if you can't shut your missus up, then I'll do it for you. Lo and behold, she did a lot of things, and I think she cheated on him with an instructor, and he sort of went off the rails a little bit, and so all this stuff that he got us in trouble for, she pooed on she shit on him anyway. So yeah, that's why we got a bit of a reprimand, because Nick Jones put a report in about me and the other guys, about things that we're doing because I'd had a go at him. I know, just what a fanny. And she ended up leaving him anyway for one of his instructors. I mean, come on, please. Just shows that money can't buy love, doesn't it, Nick? All right, so what I want to talk today about is the fun that we had. Or rather the forced fun, as we called it, towards the middle of it. We used to go out on days like go karting. We would do go ape. Paintballing was another big one. We do like adventure days where we'd be riding quads and they'll be shooting, and just all things that guys get up to, really. And it got to a point where it just become that because it was a team building exercise, you had to be there. And this was at an expense to yourself. So was the travel. There was nothing ever on my doorstep. It was always 2 or 3 hours down the motorway, close to Birmingham or wherever, Stoke, wherever. But it was always a trek. So not only is the time, it's something that you're never going to get back. You know what? You can make as much money as you want in this world. You can have as much money as you want. All right. But if you don't have any time, then you poor. If you don't have time to invest with your family, if you don't have time to spend with your kids, then you are very, very poor. You can have all the nice cars in the world. You can have all the nice holidays in the world. You can have the biggest house on the planet. But if you don't have that time, you are poor. You're not rich at all. You're just wealthy. So yeah, and you kind of had to be there. And like I said, it was an expense. So the fuel was an expense. The time was an expense. The cost of it was an expense. These things would cost maybe 30, 40 quid per time. Some even more. To the point where we just thought, we're not, we got told we had to make it. And then, when we got there, somebody didn't turn up. And it's like, well, why aren't they turned up? Or they've got something on today. Well, no. So I'm thinking, I could have stayed at home as well. I could have been with my family as well. I could have been doing other things than sitting here listening to you bollocks on about nothing. Spending time with people that I started to dislike because I could see that in them there was a bit of a snakiness. Ian Cooper messaged me last night, and he experienced some of the similar things that I did. I'm just being more vocal about it than he is. He asked me if there was any stories about why he left, because there's always going to be a story about why a manager leaves. And to be honest with you, Ian, there wasn't anything. Nothing at all. There's the usual story about most people. I can tell you some stories about why people left, and it's generally because they were skimming off the top, or they were, I don't know, caught cheating on the wives or whatever. But that's generally the thing. I might go into reasons why I departed or had to depart later on down the line. But for now, I'm just going to stick to the the current story. So yeah, this forced fun. And the other thing that was an expense to us was, as a manager, you did conferences, and the conferences were every 6 months. So every 6 months you would go to, it was usually in the Copthorne Hotel in Birmingham, or it could have been in a Hilton in Coventry. One of them was in Milton Keynes, £115 per night. And we went down we had to be there on Thursday morning for managers training. We'd have meetings, then the manager would have a meal, and then Friday would be, we would do Friday morning training, we'd have meetings, and then the manager would then just be able to do what they wanted, and then the consultants would turn up on Saturday. So we have to be there Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Some of us, towards the back end of it, stayed Sunday night because we just thought it's too much of a trek. We'd finish at 5-6 o'clock on a Sunday and then have to drive back and then get the report done and things to be in on time. We'd spend all Monday doing a report. I did mine through the week, so that's why it was never late. It was always done, and people used to probably think, well, how can he do it? Well, you work smart, not hard. You got something to, you got somewhere to be. So you prior plan for that. In the conference, so we had to pay for the room. We had to also pay for the actual conference itself, and that was, I think it was about £150, £160 for the conference, maybe 110. I don't know. It was over £100 anyway for a 4-day conference, which is just and you had to pack bags. You'd probably take two suitcases. Because you knew you were going to be there, but you get used to use the facilities, which you didn't have time to do. Unless you were up at 7 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning to go for your sauna or whatever, or use the gym, then you didn't have time to do anything. It was all right them saying you can use the facilities, but there was no time to use the facilities. We just wanted to, when we were doing these, when I first started, we'd spend a long time in a dojo training. It would be balanced. So we might do 2 hours in a dojo, 3 hours in a meeting. We might do 3 hours in a dojo, 3 hours in a meeting, So we would spend time training. Whereas towards the back end of it, it became 1.5 hours in a dojo, 4 hours in a meeting. The balance kind of shifted. Okay, it really shifted. And managed conferences were in between conferences. So we had the conferences with the consultants, which were over 4 days for us. But then we also have managers conferences, weekend conferences. Go down Friday. We'd have a meetings on Saturday and Sunday. Probably train on those 2 days as well, and then we'd go home. So we do those. So every 3 months there was a conference to fork out for. All right, and this is all coming out of your own pocket. You had to be there. There was no question about it. You had to be there. Well, I can't afford it. Well, get there. Just get there. Sleep in your car if you have to. Well, yeah, because I'm going to do that, aren't I? Bunk with another manager if you have to. Well, towards the back end, I didn't really like any of them anyway. So yeah, the forced fun. It all came out as an expense. It was all coming out of our own pockets. And when I say it was forced fun, it was because a lot of us didn't want to actually be there. We were just there because it was a team thing to do. Speaking of team things to do, I remember the managers once, we set a goal to do X amount of interviews in a week. Or I think it might have been start X amount of people in a week. I think it might have been, we're going to start 20 consultants this week. which means that within a week we've got to find them, arrange interviews, interview them, get them started, get them signed in. Now, when you first started with GKR, back when I started, signing in to be a consultant was free. You wore your own attire. As long as you were sporty appearance, you wore your own attire. Whereas what they actually brought in was a £35 fee. So before you get started within GKR Karate, you have to pay a £35 fee. So we had to then make sure the people had that as well. And I think we missed the goal by 2 or 3 consultants or 2 or 3 agreements. Whether these agreements were real or not, I don't know. Okay, I think Bob actually started getting people's phone numbers and calling them to make sure. I can't remember. I might be making that up. But yeah, so we missed it. So the punishment on the Thursday training session. So I'm leaving Hull at 6 o'clock to get to Stoke to start training at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I think it was 9:30 start. Can't remember. To do 4,000 reverse punches in Zenkutsudachi. So in long forward stance. So we're in a circle, there's 10 of us, and we're in long forward stance. We're doing a reverse punch and we're changing every 10. Boom, boom. Okay? So it was ki, 10, and then change legs. Alright? And we're going around, each person's counting 10. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, ruk, sich, hach, ku, ju. And then we change legs. We do 10 slow, 10 medium, 10 strong. So for every 30, you're doing slow, medium, strong. You kind of got a breather, but we still did 4,000. And I can remember Bob coming up in my ear, and he says, "It's hutch, hutch." So I'm like, "What I'm saying?" I mean, I didn't say anything to him because I was in a dojo, but he corrected me on how to say 7 in Japanese. Hutch, sich. Oh no, it was sich. It was 6. And for some reason, he must have thought I was saying stitch. But he said he's sich. So I'm like, hey. So I had to get that right. I'm like, well, I'm sure that's what I was saying. So I am now scared to say number 6. So when I got 6, I made a point of sich. So that I didn't get beaten up. So we all did and then after that, I think after that is, some of his punishments were brutal, man. Brutal. We set another goal for the week after. Same sort of thing. Only the punishment this time was 5,000. So in the space of 2 weeks, not only did we all realise as a team we're failures, and we only missed it by 1 or 2, wasn't heaps. But we also realised we can all do 9,000 reverse punches in 2 weeks in long forward stance. So yeah, that was another punishment that he had for us was first Carter. Man, he walked in one morning. You knew when he was pissed, because he would walk in one morning, he'd go, "Line up," and you knew he was in a mood, and you're just like, shit, what now? It could have been anything. It could have been absolutely anything. Now have in mind that we're driving an hour, 2, 3 hours to training. He lived up the road. It was literally 5 minutes away. So we're all beat anyway. And this guy's sitting on the doorstep of this dingy place. It made us do first kata for an hour. There was no bowing out. It was just you bow in once, you do first kata, Ishni, Sanchi, Goro, Sichach, Kuju, you count through it, up to 10 twice, so up to 20. And then the next person goes, Ishni, Sanchi, and you just keep going. So once you're finished, you just go straight back into it, straight again. And we did that for an hour. And the last 2 katas that we did that day was second kata. Now have in mind, we're all in long forward stance and your legs are mashed. So you don't want to do any kicking. You don't want to do any more kata. But yeah, first kata for an hour was pretty brutal as well. It used to just make people feel real uncomfortable. It was very good at it, but I don't think there was a need for it. You just knew that it was annoyed, and it could have just been results were low. Could have just been that results were low, and they weren't where he wanted them to be. So, other than coming to our regions and sitting in our meetings and feeding the consultants with stuff, there wasn't a lot more we could do. Well, get out on the street with them, see what's happening. Well, that's all well and good, but you got on the street. So yeah, we had to go knocking on doors as well with the consultants just to check up on them, because people can't be trusted. And they can't. Nick, if you're listening, I don't know if you remember, but one day I think Stevie Shaw was there as well, and I remember actually coming out to meet you, you little bugger. I remember coming out to meet you and driving around where you were meant to be canvassing. I thought, I can't find them. Lo and behold, they are all, there must have been 6 or 7 of them. There was a new consultant on the streets as well. They were all outside the local shop, drinking Coca-Cola, having a bit of a drink and stuff. So I guess there, as soon as I got there, guess what? They were back in the doors. I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, how many appointments have you got? None, one. And it's like, wow, okay, what? You can afford to be, having a break at this time. So yeah, I don't know if you remember that, Nick, but I think there was, I think I might have spent 10 minutes with you and just thought, you know what? Can't be bothered anymore. That got me into a bit of the way Bob acted. I just thought that's the way you act as a zone director. So I had to act that way as a zone director. And, I'd be in meetings, throwing briefcases around, throwing chairs around, effing this and effing that. I just thought this is the way that zone directors act. Neil Remy, if you ever watch this, you'll remember, or Louise, if you remember that, I just threw my briefcase, said, you fucking sort it, and walked out of the meeting. You came in with a good result that night. So yeah, and Luke Jackson and Corey Tennant and Matt Jackson, Mario. You might remember the day when I was totally peeved at the result, and I just thought, I'm going to do a bob trick. And I made you stand in Haikedach for an hour while I whispered sweet nothings in your ear. All negative, really. It was just all like, what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? What do you see when you look in that mirror? Do you see success or do you see failure? And they just stood there for an hour in Haikedach. And I just thought, do you know what? If this is what Bob does, this is what I've got to do as well. So yeah, there was the forced fun, but it was also the epic punishments that we had to endure. I can also remember towards the back end of my time, I think I was meant to be getting an attitude adjustment because I wanted to transfer to the Northern Zone due to a lot of things that had gone on with the Central Zone guys. I couldn't work with half of them. They were just backstabbing bastards. So I was looking at transferring to the Northern Zone, which was only an hour and a half drive away from me for training. So it was better for me for training. It was around the corner from where my mum lived, so it was, I could pop in and get a sausage butty on my way home, and I could see her every week. So it was much better for me, and because of that, where were we? We were in Bristol. I forget who came to talk to, but I'll tell you, it was the most boring meeting as ever. We were in Bristol, and Bob decided he wanted to spar me. I didn't do anything. I just moved out of the way. He caught me a corker. Haito, right on the back of my neck. Right on the back of my neck. I'll tell you what, it shook. It totally shook. But I'm not letting you beat me. I think he was getting a bit frustrated because I wasn't anywhere where he wanted me to be. I did ask some of the other managers, because they were watching. I'm like, how did that look? And they all said, yeah, he looked like he was pissed at you. And I said, so how did it look from my point of view? And they said, didn't even look like you were trying. So maybe you're losing your touch, Bob. I don't know. I know I'm certainly losing my touch because I can't move as quick as I used to. But yeah, so it was brutal with his control was shit. His control was epically crap. It didn't, because you wouldn't say anything. There's been a few times when he's hit somebody and you don't say it. I remember him knocking Ryan Marvin out, and Ryan Marvin having to go, lo and behold, to the only hospital that would see him, which is in Hull, to have his brain checked. He had to go for tests on his brain. He had to go up there every week after manager training. That's another story. That is another story. I'll see if I can remember. I'm going to tell you anyway. But so yeah. I don't know why I was going to Hull. Jeez, I mean, she was 16. But anyway, I'll go into that another time. That'll be another video for you. So yeah, look, it was forced fun, but the punishments were also pretty brutal as well. And you don't go to work to get treated like that. Speaking of Ian Cooper, right? I don't know if you can remember on a video previous, I talked about a guy called Ian Latham. Well, we were actually canvassing for his region. Ian was there. Ian came over from where he was, and he started canvass with us. But he told us some stories about his manager Richard. That Ian didn't get paper for Richard because Richard wanted some paper for his printer. So Ian didn't get his paper for his printer. So Richard leathered him. Either leathered him verbally or physically. I think it was verbal. And I think it was just total abuse. And it's like, well, you don't treat people that way. You don't go to work in fear. I was fearful of going to manager's training. Towards the back end anyway. Well, when I was successful, I didn't fear anything. Didn't fear anything. Because I was making the company money. And while you're doing that, you're all right. While you're in bonus, you're all right. But if you're not in bonus, or if you're slipping backwards, you're not the flavour of the month. You are the disappointment. So coming up and going down, I feared manager's training. Because I just knew that, I was quite fit at the time. Even towards the back end when I started to put a little bit of weight on, and I was probably one of the oldest in there, I was still as fast and as strong as the 20-year-olds, the kids that have got, 10, 15 years on me. I still endeavour to keep up and still be the best in the room. And I still would now. It would kill me. But I still do my best now to keep up. And you'd see them, you look down the line, you think, you got people that go working out. You got Carl Hughes, who was a fitness fanatic, he'd do pumping iron, and then you got Ryan Marvin, who was quite fit as well, and jumping kick with his kicks, man, just everywhere. And then you got Daniel Freer and all these other kids, and they're all on their knees going, and I'm like, dude, suck it up, man. I want to collapse as well, but I've got time on you. My body's got another 10 years on you, man. My body's been through another 10 years of, 5-10 years of being beaten up. My body's deteriorating. The other thing that we were forced into doing, we had to be there, was black belt camps. Now, black belt camps would be a day's managers conference training, and then we'd go over to I think it was Leicester Uni. I forget the name of the uni. And we'd go and stay there. And now the digs there were just appalling. But you still have to pay 100, 150 quid for that weekend. You basically didn't have time to. You didn't have time to up your backside. You didn't have time to go anywhere. You'd get up, you'd go for your breakfast in your gi, and then 10 minutes later, there'd be a massive queue. But with this massive queue, you'd find the zone directors just sneaking past just to get to the front of the queue. Or they'd be at the back of the queue, and you just knew that they didn't have to train, so they could eat anything they wanted because they weren't going to throw it all up 20 minutes later. So there was that, same with lunch and same with dinner. We'd just be in a gi all day long, black belt camps, and some of them were interesting. Towards the back end, I spent most of my time laid on the floor. My back was in bits. It was killing me. Couldn't move. Found it hard to walk. Didn't find it hard to walk to the bar, but yeah, my back was in bits, man. It wasn't great. My back was the first thing to go. So, I kind of ducked out of training quite a lot towards the back end of it. Because I had to, health reasons. Just couldn't do it anymore. Just got to a point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep up with 2 hours break, 2 hours break, 2 hours break, bed, 2 hours in the morning. I can't do that. It's too much for me. I might do an hour, I'll sit out. I might do the 10, 15 minutes the next one, but I've got to sit out. But yeah, you had to. It was frowned upon. It was frowned upon to not attend. So you had to attend because you thought, if somebody's watching me, then I want to be a zone director. Do I want to be frowned upon? No. You know, do I want to be frowned upon for not training? No. But there was always someone out not training. There's always somebody that was late. There was always somebody that had an excuse for something. You know, I think I travelled the furthest, but was always there on time and early. If you're on time, you're late. Is the motto that I had fed into me. So yeah, I mean, like I say, nobody should go through these things and have to live in fear. You know, live in fear of, oh, I didn't get my goal last week. Am I going to get kicked in today? I didn't get my goal last week. I got a telling off. I got a telling off last week. Is the whole team going to pay for it this week? You know, what new thing he's going to come up with today? And the meetings were all the same thing. They were just all the same thing. I literally just kept my head down and wrote in my diary. And it's like, I've heard it all before. I've heard everything before. I can remember being sat. It's quite sad, really, is this one. I remember being sat on a meeting room table as a manager, as a successful manager. I think I was the only Club 1000 at the time. I think Daniel Taylor had gone back to Australia, and if not, Daniel Taylor was the other Club 1000. So I remember being sat on a table, and there's all these guys on 500, 600 attendances, 200 attendances. And Bob went around the table and he singled us all out. And, you know, what was your best week as a consultant? 30, 40, 45, 35, 32. He got to me and I said my best week was 24. Mine was the worst best week in the room. And do you know what the cheeky bastard said to me? You would have been the consultant that I would have fired. Right? But quietly in my head, I would have also been the Club 1000 manager that wasn't helping you get your bonuses as well, and helping Sullivan get his house and his helicopter. That's what I would have also been, you tosser. You would have been the consultant I would have fired because I got 24 members in a week. I had the worst consultant week, but I had the biggest team, the biggest recruitment, and the biggest numbers in GKR at that time. It was either me or Daniel Taylor. It was this every week. It was this with me and Taylor. But I would have been the consultant you would have fired. I'll tell you what you needed to do, Bob. At that time, you need to look around your fucking table and look at all the other managers that were shite. You know, you got plenty of them now. Look at all the people that are crap now. Look at all the people that are not succeeding, that have never succeeded, and that will never succeed. 1,000 attendance in GKR doesn't exist anymore. Does not exist. I hope somebody does comment on this from GKR saying, well, this region's on 1,000 attendance, because I certainly doubt it. I've heard in Australia they're doing hombugs, which is, you know, base dojos. They've got that's it. Whereas in the UK, I think they've still got satellite dojos all over the place with expert people teaching them. Expert numpties that I taught, and I just thought, well, you're all right, but you're not brilliant. But yet the Downers giving expert advice, false sales. I actually messaged them last year, I think it was, because I saw this guy John Daniels, who was he was supposed to be one of my friends. You know, I messaged him and I said, I'd like some expert advice on my karate. Can you please help? Didn't get a reply back. So yeah, forced fun, uncomfortable punishments. But like I say, you're not meant to go into... even Sullivan did it once with the punishments. This is a conference that we've paid to go to. We've paid to be there. And even he punished us because he was pissed off with the results as well. You know, he weren't making his millions fast enough. You know, for them it was always about the bottom line. It was never about the people. They prided themselves. Their motto was the people, you know, the people club. The interview actually said, you know, our greatest asset is its people. GKR's greatest asset is its people. No, I'm sorry, but it's not. And you're not the family club. I don't think you ever were. You were just there because you and your missus had a couple of kids and they started training karate. That's how you became the family club. You know, he wrote a book called Living My Dream. I've not read it. Didn't read it. I think it was a free copy, so I just thought, I'll put it on the shelf. Say I've got it. Yeah, great book. Oh, of everything that he's done, and all right, self-made man, self-made man. But don't preach these things when you've got dickhead zone directors, doing things that you've got no idea. Because I was fearful of going over Bob McCracken's head. I would never go over his head. The book would stop at him. That was it. You put a complaint in Stacey Correction, who knows what's going to happen? Probably get it again. Probably get it tenfold. It's like, oh, well, you got me in trouble with Stacey, so do you know what? I'm going to batter you again, or I'm going to punish you again, or I'm going to make you feel worthless again. And it's like, well, look what happened last time. There's no point now, is there? So yeah, they just started to drain and drag you down. But yeah, nobody should go to their place of employment. Well, not employed, but nobody should go to a dojo or a meeting in fear of being singled out. I was even in fear of being singled out as, the best. Going to a meeting once, the UK was pumping. All the zone directors were in this meeting as well, and we're talking about this, that, and the other. And I remember Sean Ewing said, Shane, I just want to say that I just wrote 3 words. I wrote 3 words, and it's like, what are those 3 words, Sean? It's like, be James Davey, and I'm like, whoa, that's blushing. That's not my head getting bit. That was like embarrassing. And he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he's always at training on time. He's never late with anything. He's always. So I'm just going to be more like him. Now, I appreciated the sentiment, but it was a bit embarrassing. So to be singled out for being the best was also, to me, I was a quiet achiever. But yeah, forced fun, forced conferences, forced training and meetings, and punishment that you wouldn't want anyone to do. I mean, it made me that bad. I was that much of a hard-headed arsehole that my ex-partner's youngest tried my belt on. I think it was must have been a brown belt at the time, but he tried my black belt on. So, do you know what I did as a punishment for him before his Tuesday night class? It must have been 8 at the time, maybe 9 at the time. I gave him 1,000 reverse punches. I just thought, because that was the bastard I was. I was an arsehole, I'm telling you. Any instructor that might be watching this, for anything that I've put you through, any consultant that I might have talked down to, any student that I might have talked down to, managers couldn't give a shit. Ex-managers, we're ex-managers for a reason, and you know what? I've probably never spoken down to any of you. It's only the people that are current now that I probably talk down to, or can't stand. So to anyone that I've shown any animosity to, this is my apology. This is me. This is just me saying I'm sorry, because that wasn't me. That was what GKR made me. They made me into a horrible. What are the words I use today to describe how I was back then? Self-centered, egotistical prick. That was me then. I'm still a prick. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so look, what GKR made me that person. And for that, I am truly sorry. There's no way that I can make it up to any of you. But I just thought that was the way to act. I just thought, I want to be a zone director, so I just act like a twat. Act like a bastard. And I resent myself for that. And I hate myself for that. The fact that of how I treated other people during my success. That's, yeah. Because then when you're falling, because what goes up's got to come down, as the saying goes. Be careful you meet on the way up, because be careful you shit on the way up, because you're going to meet them on the way back down. I didn't believe that because I didn't never think I'd come down. But yeah, I came down with a thud, a massive thud. It left a crater in the earth. So yeah. But my most humble apologies for anybody I've treated like shit. That wasn't me. This is me now. This is me now. Chubby, bald, beard's coming back. Yeah. If any want to reach out, feel free to reach out. You know, I'd be more than happy to chat with you and, you know, reminisce of old times. It's good to know that some of you guys are liking these videos. But yeah, so don't ever go to work in fear. Don't ever fear another person. Because they're just people. They're just, you know, they bleed the same as us, they bruise the same as us. You know, they're just another person. So don't ever fear people. People are just people. But, you know, some of us did live in fear of Bob McCracken. And again, I attribute some of that to the way I am today, the way that my head's wired today. So until the next video, peoples, like it, comment, share it, subscribe, comment in the Facebook if you want to, inbox me if you really want to, and I will see you on the next video. The next video, well, I'm going to talk about the next video. Dun, dun, dun. Don't know, I might talk about Ryan Marvin on the next video. Tune in.